What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. I wanted to come here and talk about work since you guys seem to like me talking about work. For those of you that might be just tuning in, I am a software engineer. I'm currently working as a contractor for a hardware company. I'm not going to give out the exact company I work for, but I'm basically back to being a test engineer. Even though my title is software engineer, I am on the product validation engineering team at this company. And it's okay. It's fine. To be honest, the entirety of the job is just triaging, which is the official term for troubleshooting or debugging a variety of test scripts that are in production. The tests are running, like there's weekly tests, there's like a shit ton of them, and then there's nightly tests also. So I'm just working on integrating those. Our products support this sub feature set that we're currently like expanding our coverage for. So like I've been working on that as well this week. And I just can't help but think about my job before this one, or the company from before this one. Like, it's the only company that I have to really compare against, because it's the only engineering company I've worked for outside of this one, where I was for 5.5 years. And I kind of miss parts of it, Like, I gotta say that the number one thing that I think I miss is the mentorship and the people that I worked with. Even like my old boss and my old director and the two senior engineers that I worked with on my last team. Like, I felt like I was learning so much, and I felt like that overall I had the proper direction to do my job well, between both my manager, who was kind of hands off, but we would still have like one-on-ones every other week or so. And then like my two mentors that were the senior guys on the team, they taught me a lot too, and would be willing and able to, like, help me out if I like needed to know how to do something. Like, there's a fine line, at least in my experience with engineering, where like, the job is essentially just problem solving, but I definitely need help at points where it's just like, if you can show me like how to fish, I'm good. Or if you can just give me something to dig into, I'm good, especially with some of this like technical know-how stuff. Like, half of my problem I find at this new job is just knowing how to navigate the spec. That always tends to be my weakness, and then interpreting the spec correctly is also something that I feel like I struggle with. But with like, if I have a senior guy there with me, just like, oh yeah, this is actually what this does, and then I can go and do the background research to see like conceptually maybe the purpose of why we're testing a given thing, which usually makes sense at that point. But just knowing how to pair the spec directly against the code is something that I have struggled with in the past. But anyway, what I've been missing is just, I guess, like my old coworkers, like the mentorship aspect, because at my new company now, there's absolutely zero training. It feels like a free-for-all. I've managed to befriend one senior guy who's been very helpful and accommodating and understanding, and has already taught me a fair amount in terms of like, navigating the spec, how to debug within this new context. Because to be honest with you guys, if you're a seasoned software engineer watching this, you're going to probably laugh at what you're about to hear. But my process for debugging has never usually involved a debugger, with the exception of GBD for C and C++. But I otherwise have never really used a debugger. My go-to process is literally always, using like print statements to kind of just like walk through the code, see what's what, and just kind of like see how far it might be getting before it bugs out. It's blah, blah, blah. So, which is kind of stupid in retrospect, because now I'm, hold on, I'm parking right now. Because now that I'm actually like using the debugger for PyCharm, for Python, it's obviously useful. But I've somehow gone like 5.5 years without really using the debugger very often. Like, and it's ironic too, because when I first started working in engineering, I used PyCharm like a lot. That was because I started in Python at the very beginning, and here I am again, and I'm actually using the debugger. So it's funny. But it's interesting to observe how companies like do things differently, and how different teams do things differently, and like what good management and what bad management looks like. I don't want to disrespect anyone at my new company or anything like that. And like my manager now is a nice enough guy, but we have no direction. We have almost no direction. It's very minimal. Our team is very large, and it's just like it's very hands off. We're just expected to know exactly what to do without any like mentorship or like direction, even from like my manager. Like obviously as a manager, you're not necessarily holding your employees' hands to do things because that's what other team members are for at the beginning, especially with the technical stuff. But still, like I could still have a little bit more direction, and I just don't have that. So it's just kind of frustrating at times. And I kind of, like I said, it got me thinking back to my last company. I'm like, damn, I kind of miss it. Like, does this mean I need to go to a different company and like experience a different company? Like, I don't know. So it's just kind of, yeah, makes me feel a kind of way. I know that I need to plan my escape because I am a contractor, and like if I think like I'm one of, I want to say at least 3, but probably maybe 4 or 5 contractors on a team of 20. There's like a team of 20 devs, which is cool, but I'm just not a fan of the instability of being a contractor, because like I feel like at any given time the carpet can be pulled from under me, or the rug can be pulled from under me. That's the right expression. And I could get let go or laid off with like very little retrospect, or warning, I should say. Retrospect wasn't the right word. And I talked to some of my coworkers about it, just in general, like that insecurity, and they're like, "Oh, you should be fine. If anything, if things change, full-time employees could be more at risk because it could be more costly to keep full-time employees." But I don't buy that, even though they like have all the benefits and everything through my current company because they're full-time employees. I, as a contractor, my benefits are through the contracting company. My pay is through the contracting company. So like it would be way easier for them to let me go if they needed to. And I have very little sense of how well I'm doing, because like the last couple days, at least like yesterday overall, and then like this morning, it was one of those days where I felt like I was doing good, and I was able to understand the problem I was troubleshooting. I got a little bit of help from one of my guy I befriended I was alluding to before. Everything seemed straightforward enough, and I was like replicating exactly what he did to solve the problem. And although I didn't really solve it because I didn't really replicate the behavior I was expecting to see, it still was well enough. But then it's just like, all right, now that I'm kind of blocked here, what do I do now? And like you gotta like kind of probe and prod and see what other problems other people are working on. And if it were a different company, I would have gone right to my manager and be like, "Hey, all right, I'm blocked on this thing, what can I work on now?" But like it's just not really a thing here. So all that to say, maybe I just needed another change in environment, because the only thing I really like about this company is so far, at least as a contractor, maybe my experience is different than a full-time employee, but it doesn't really feel that way because like some other coworkers kind of share the sentiment that I do about certain things, and they're full-time employees. I will say this, I don't think that other engineering companies are like this, but if they are, like outside of like the defense industry, I will definitely not last in this industry at all. Like, especially like if people are expected to just like basically fend for themselves from the get-go with minimal to no training, and like not knowing the processes and whatnot of the company, like the internals of the company. Like that was one thing I did very well at my last company, is I like figured out, or I knew how everything worked and how to navigate that corporate environment. But now it's different. So it's so different. So I need to be more aggressive, I think, just in general, in terms of like getting the right information out of the right people, just in order to solve my problems, which is something that I have experience with as a scrum master at my last company. So yeah. All right, I gotta get some food, and I gotta drive for Uber to hit my quota for the week. So if you made it this far and you liked listening to me ramble about my job, thank you. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you in the next video.